Good Wednesday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. Plenty of Browns to talk about as the off-season workouts, voluntary of course, going on out in Berea. The first time that Kevin Stefanski and some of the players have met with the media today during these voluntary off-season workouts. Kevin Stefanski talked about the message to all of the new Browns who are in Berea this week.
With those new faces, you have to come together as a team. 2022 team is different than 2021, and that's just the nature of the NFL. As we all know, there's new faces, there's new coaches. We have some new staff members moving people around. So part of that is just getting around each other to come together as a team. That's really the number one goal. Now, that's not the only goal. We have to teach and reteach our systems. We have to learn and relearn our systems. But we want them to know that this building and this campus is a safe, competitive, fun place for them to be during this offseason program.
Let's welcome in Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Hayden, turnout pretty good, and guys seem anxious to get to work.
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of new faces with the Cleveland Browns, and it's good to get them all in the same building and get them together doing what they want to do and what they need to do for this season. So, I think coming together and starting to build this camaraderie, starting to build this culture for this new season, this new team, is exactly what they need. So this is the start of that.
The other thing that happened, the extension for Denzel Ward, 5-year extension. He will be the highest paid cornerback in the NFL, an average value of over $20 million per season for 5. He's under contract for the next 6. Ward talked about that contract extension and what it means to him.
It means a lot. I mean, I tweeted about it. I told them that just the fact that they're continuing to believe in me, believe in a kid that grew up in Ohio and went on to play for his hometown team, and they're trusting my abilities and what I could do for this team and what I could do in this community. And so, I mean, I'm blessed. I just want to continue to give back, want to continue to show that I'm that guy, I'm deserving of this. And, I mean, it's not just for me. So I'm just excited.
Yeah, I think it's outstanding for Denzel, for his family. He's earned it, the way he's played, the way he's conducted himself off the field, what he's done in our community. He speaks to the type of culture that the Haslam family has in this community, and Denzel just embodies that. So excited to lock him up. He's a good football player at a really premium position.
And you can watch Andrew Berry kind of go to work trying to sustain the young core. The guys that they have drafted that have been successful, they've tried to lock up and have been pretty successful doing so.
Yeah, I mean, their core is in place. They have a great foundation. You got some really, really key guys under contract for at least the next 3 years. You got Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb. You have Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio. You have Amari Cooper. You have Myles Garrett. You have Denzel Ward. You have Greg Newsome. So you got some pretty big names and pretty foundational pieces for the Cleveland Browns, ready to go, locked up for the next, as I said, about 3 or 4 years, maybe even some longer than that. So Andrew Berry knows kind of what he wants to do. He wants to keep this team competitive for a long time. He wants to keep them contenders for a long time. And what better way to do that than to keep the guys that have kind of, been the cornerstone and been around this franchise to keep them around.
Yeah, the other thing is he's been ahead of the curve pretty much with everything. And I suspect when we look back at some of these contracts that have been signed over the last couple of weeks, he'll be ahead of the curve again. That just seems to be the way he operates. You mentioned Amari Cooper. First time that Amari Cooper met with the media, talked about being here in Cleveland and being part of the Browns.
It's been cool. Obviously when you come into a new environment, it feels like getting drafted all over again, or feels like first day of summer workouts in college, similar type of processes. So, I've been in this situation before, and it's cool getting to know new people, being in a new environment, getting to explore a different part of the country that I've never been to. So it's cool.
And Hayden, it'll be interesting to see how they use Amari Cooper, how they assimilate him into the offense, and what they can do with him split out wide.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that is a tremendous route runner, a guy that they certainly needed on the outside to be a number one. I still think they still need receiver help, but this is a guy that can kind of lead that room and can be the veteran voice, the veteran leadership that they need. And I can't wait, like you said, I can't wait to see what they can do with them. It's been a while since, Odell Beckham Jr. was a number one truly, but, wasn't healthy at times and obviously wasn't on the same page as Baker Mayfield. So I can't wait to see what Amari Cooper can do with that number one spot. And, I think that I can't wait to see that route running in action and the ability to get open in action.
Yeah, he has been very, very good wherever he has been. So along those lines, they do need to add some wide receivers. This tweet comes from Mary Kay Cabot, colleague at cleveland.com, plain dealer. Jarvis Landry still has a chance to re-sign with the Browns, but he is visiting the Saints this week, according to league sources. And again, that's an area, the Saints, that's a team that I could see him potentially going to. The LSU connection is in play there. If you're looking for Jarvis Landry to re-sign with the Browns, the Saints are a threat, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just being where he's from, being a big part of who he is. Yes, I could 100% see Jarvis Landry, going back home and being a member of the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, I don't think their roster is as good as Cleveland's. I don't think they're in the same place as Cleveland, but Jarvis wants to get paid. He's made no bones about that. He wants to get paid. He believes that he's earned that right in this league, and I believe that he's earned that right in this league. So you're never going to fault a guy for going out for money, and it looks like that's exactly what Jarvis Landry is going to do here. So we'll see. We'll see if that makes the most sense for him, and we'll see what the Saints are going to end up giving him, and maybe there's an opportunity for the Browns to get back in this race if they feel like he's worth what he wants. So again, I think New Orleans would make perfect sense for him in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I will never blame a player for getting paid when they have the ability to do so. The NFL career is a short one. So, again, Jarvis Landry, hope he comes back, but hope he gets the deal he's looking for. Browns did sign a couple of players. So they signed an edge rusher and also a wide receiver. Edge rusher would be Isaac Rochelle. He played a couple of years in the NFL. Wide receiver, Javon Wims. Now, both these guys are kind of developmental guys. They were both seventh-round picks. Wims has played in the NFL with the Raiders and the Bears. He was on the Raiders practice squad last season. Rochelle was with the Chargers and the Colts last year. Here is Rochelle making his signing with the Browns social media official, if you will.
What's up?
You get your contract?
I'm officially a Cleveland Brown.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. I think you are at the right place. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
And again, that is Isaac Rochelle sharing the news with family members that he is in fact signed with the Browns. Sounds like he's happy to be here. You always want depth pieces that want to be with your franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Isaac is a very, very big and prominent member of the TikTok community. I think he and his wife have over 2 million followers combined, and you've seen their journey to this point. So it's definitely somebody interesting in that regard. That you've seen their journey. You've seen them with the Chargers. You've seen them with the Indianapolis Colts, and now he's come to Cleveland. So it'll be even more fun to see his journey here and see what that brings. He's known as a great locker room guy that works really hard. Out of Notre Dame. So, excited to see what he can do in Cleveland. And Javon Wims, I don't know a ton about, but they do, as I said, need a lot of depth at the receiver position, given, that they've lost a lot of that position, and they only can use more. So, again, excited to see what both these guys can bring.
And again, he'll be fighting for, special teams or that fourth, fifth, maybe sixth receiver role. Will Javon Wims. But again, Browns sign an edge rusher, wide receiver, 2 areas of need. Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out, other side of the break. We continue talking Browns. We'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about that Denzel Ward extension. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Time to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one, a little bit about Baker Mayfield, but a lot about that extension for Denzel Ward.
Hey, big fan. I watch your show every day. Just the thing, I'm just tired of hearing about the whole Baker Mayfield situation. He's the past. Can we move on to the future Browns? And with that, so since Denzel got his extension and Njoku's probably next in line, who would you guys say, or who would you think would be the next to receive an extension on our team? Just want to hear your guys' thoughts. Have a good day. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. And Hayden, I get people talking about the Baker Mayfield situation. The reason it's important is, one, the $18 million that it holds on the cap. Two, how you're going to resolve it. And three, you might even get an asset for it. So from that standpoint, that's why we talk about Baker Mayfield, just seeing where the resolution is and how the organization can potentially use the cap room. Denzel Ward loved the extension. Next guy, we had to think about this. It's probably David Njoku, who they franchise tagged, and they're trying to find a way to extend. Other than that, most of the people that you'd want to extend that are eligible have been extended. You look at Wills, he's still on it, JOK is a rookie kind of guy that's got a couple of years. Wills still has a couple of years. Conklin is kind of, a guy that's under contract that you might think about restructuring. But Njoku, is that who you're thinking? That's the only one that came to mind for us.
Yeah, Njoku is the only one that comes to my mind. I mean, you have Greg Newsome, who was a first-round pick, under contract for a while. You have JOK under contract for a while. So those are probably two other guys that, would very in the near future be under consideration. Kareem Hunt also comes to mind because, he was restructured, or he had an extension, but it wasn't a very big one. So if he continues to be what he's been for the Browns, he could definitely be next in on that list too. So those are the names that I think about for sure. But I kind of agree with the caller. I wish Baker Mayfield the best wherever he goes. I do. I think he wants to move on. I think the Browns want to move on. I don't know, what we're waiting for in terms of a resolution here. It's not worth talking about anymore. The situation's over. We can look at hypotheticals all we want, but what remains is that Baker Mayfield's going to find a home somewhere. And I wish him the best wherever he goes, but I agree with the caller. It's time to move on. I wish the Browns would do the same, because it's just, the more that it lingers, the more it kind of just puts a dark cloud above everything. So I think Baker would want, to be in a new situation soon. I think the Browns would want him to be in a new situation, which, is why I'm just confused to why nothing has happened and they haven't made a move yet. But, again, wish him very, very, very well. And we'll see him down the road. And you're right. It's time to move on.
It's a matter of timing, because they'll be able to get something. It won't be a huge return. They'll be able to get something. And again, Andrew Berry is going to be respectful of Baker Mayfield. Look at what he did with Odell Beckham Jr. in the release. So they have a history of treating people fairly, and I think they're waiting until Baker Mayfield's a starting quarterback in the NFL, and I think the Browns feel that way. That's why they're trying to get some sort of return for him. All right, let's move on. So Denzel Ward signed that extension. He talked just about, that room and the secondary and the way this Browns defense can line up.
Man, we could be special. And I think the biggest thing, too, we're getting a lot of those guys back. So I think the biggest thing is chemistry. So, we left on a good note last year with this group, and I think we could build on that. But like I said, the best thing for me is getting those guys back, knowing how they play, knowing how I play, and working together.
What's it like being the top-paid corner in the league and seeing Jalen Ramsey tweet at you about joining that 100 club?
Yeah, it's a blessing. Every time I see it, it's just crazy to look at. I don't know, I'd be in shock and in awe just looking at it. It's been a lot of amazing corners, DBs, and players that have went through this league and been in the position that I'm in now. And for me to have my name there, I take a lot of pride in that and a lot of respect in that. And like I said, I just want to continue to show that I'm that guy and I'm that player.
And Hayden, anybody who doubts that he's one of the elite corners in the NFL needs to go watch that Bengals game, the first one against Jamar Chase. And I'm not talking about the 99-yard interception. I'm talking about the whole game covering the American Football Conference's Rookie of the Year, the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Denzel, when he's on the field, he's a great player. I think that there's no doubt. Every time he shows up, every time he's on the field, he shows up. I think the biggest thing with him is just staying on the field, and he kind of proved that last year that he can do that. So, again, that's why you pay him. That's why you make him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. I'm thrilled for him. He's living the dream that I think a lot of us dreamed of as a kid, to play high school in Northeast Ohio, and then go play for Ohio State, and then go play for the Cleveland Browns. That's a dream for a lot of kids, and he's living it out. So you got to be thrilled for him, man. Like he said, it doesn't happen often. If ever, and it's a really, really awesome story, and couldn't happen to a better kid.
The other thing is when you look at the contract, it's a big contract without question, but listen to breaking it down. This is from Pro Football Talk, NBC Sports. Andrew Berea did a great job in locking up Denzel Ward.
5-year extension with 1 year left. That puts him under contract for 6 more years. And the way these deals typically work, the first 2 or 3, they will be honored by both sides. We get into the final 3 years, that's when the team has the option to keep going or to tear it up. And if the cap keeps going up and up and up the way that it did this year, that's going to be a pretty good deal from the Browns' perspective. That's when Denzel Ward may say, hey, how about we tear it up here and do something else? So that's just going to be part of the ever-churning reality of the NFL. We're always going to be looking 3 years out, 4 years out, 5 years out. Where will the cap be? How will these deals look? So we'll see.
And again, the salary cap's going up because the revenue streams coming into the NFL keep going up. Salary cap is set by a percentage of the revenue for the league, and they haven't gotten into the sports wagering that's going to be legalized in more and more states. And the revenue generated by the NFL is not going down, so the salary cap is not going down. So these deals, the Browns are at the front end of it. Andrew Berea is doing a really good job with managing it.
Yeah, he's looking at the future. He's looking at now for the future. He's going to give guys big contracts now. He set the precedent with the Deshaun Watson signing. He's going to set the precedent with the Denzel Ward signing. We'll see down the road what kind of other extensions come. But he's been very, very prescient in the way that he's been able to, look at what's ahead and how the NFL is going to look. And maybe in 3 years, we look at this Denzel contract and go, man, he was highest paid at the time, but now, he's kind of a great deal for the Browns. So I think, again, Andrew Berea is a remarkably smart guy with tremendous, tremendous foresight.
And again, it's almost like a three-dimensional view that he's taken. It's now, it's in the near term, and in the long term. And so far, he's been on the cutting edge of getting all three of them to line up. This one is interesting. This is from BrownsWire.com. That Denzel Ward's extension, it could lead to the final year for both Greedy Williams and Troy Hill. And the thought is, they're coming up for new contracts. Do you have enough? Do you want to put those assets into the secondary where you've sunk a lot of assets. I have a feeling they'll be able to find a way to keep Greedy Williams. That's a guy that's been banged up some, but man, when he's been healthy, especially last year when he was on the field, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, Troy Hill too. Troy Hill definitely had a great year for the Browns, I thought. Was a good signing, good value. And yeah, I think he's coming up in the second year of his 2-year deal. So yeah, I could foresee a situation in which Troy Hill doesn't come back. I could foresee a situation Greedy Williams doesn't come back. But, I think you just have to take it year by year and take it, in the NFL week by week, because there were times where, we thought Baker Mayfield was going to get the big extension. He never got it. Now he's on his way out. Wyatt Teller, we were saying maybe he wasn't going to get that extension. He got it. Joel Bitonio got one. So, we'll see. We'll see where they're at. I mean, there's a lot to go into these things, and I think there's way too much on the table yet to say for certain who can and can't be here.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And you know what? Andrew Berea has said you manage things year to year. Every year is different. And so far, he said that, and that's what his actions have shown. Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we will look back to the offense, looking at Amari Cooper, what the offense might look like with Deshaun Watson and that quarterback room. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line, a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for buying a fishing license. I want you to picture all the great things this simple purchase does. Like building public boat ramps, keeping local waters clean, and maintaining a healthy fish population.
What's Mom doing?
When you buy a fishing license, you do a lot. Every dollar protects and maintains your local waterways for future generations to enjoy. Visit takemefishing.org.
We continue talking Browns with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Let's hear again. Kevin Stefanski met with the media, talked about Amari Cooper and kind of reshaping the Browns quarterback room.
Yeah, Coop's been great, very responsive to coaching. Amari, as you guys will know, maybe do know, he's not the loudest guy in the room, but he's very, very thoughtful, very, very intelligent. Has been productive really every year he's been in this league, is a good teammate. Just watching him work there in the weight room and seeing him around his teammates, I think he's a guy that really works hard. He puts in the work. He's not somebody that's skirting around the work in any way. Yeah, I think we felt like we added 3 good players, and ultimately they do share some skill sets, Tony, not all the exact same in that regard, but certainly, like you mentioned, bigger, a little bit more athletic, the 3 guys together. But ultimately, it's what those 3 guys do best, and there's certainly a thread of things that they do well that we want to make sure that we're utilizing.
And Hayden, one thing is Cooper, he's known as a precise route runner. That's something that in Kevin Stefanski's offense you need.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that with what Kevin Stefanski does, I mean, he's a guy that everything's got to be kind of lock in step. Everything's got to be very, very timed out. So for that reason, Amari Cooper is going to be a big part of what they do. He's going to be a technician. He's going to have to be right in lockstep with what Kevin Stefanski wants on his routes and what Deshaun Watson expects. So I'm excited to see what they do together. I'm excited to see what he can do. And I think, again, that this offense, I think this offense is going to have to look a little bit different, just given everything that Kevin Stefanski, given everything this team has undergone in terms of the change in the roster and whatnot. I can't wait to see the change that Kevin Stefanski makes. I think it's got to be more explosive. I think they got to take advantage of what they do best, in terms of the running game and what Deshaun Watson does best in the passing game. So I can't wait to see it. I think they got to start to push the ball down the field a little more. There's no excuses. I mean, they should have with Baker Mayfield too, but last year he had the injury. So I'm excited to see a better offense. I really am. I think it's going to be much better than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was kind of the mindset, and you can see some of the thought process and how they're trying to build it. Let's head to social media, check out a couple of things. So Amari Cooper on Instagram, and you see, let's get at it, let's get it, is what he says as far as the off-season workout. Deshaun Watson also posting on his Instagram account, ready to go in the Browns attire, and his is For Love. And then let's take a look at Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb just continues to work and work and work, and Nick Chubb is just throwing around more weight than any running back should be squatting. That hurts just watching Nick Chubb going to work. And, Hayden, it's been our first opportunity to hear Amari Cooper talk, and we've heard some things about him. Amari Cooper seems to be the wide receiver version of Nick Chubb. Doesn't say a whole lot, is very team-oriented, and you don't usually hear that from wide receivers. A lot of times those are the diva ego type guys, but man, Amari Cooper does not seem to be that at all.
No, he doesn't. He does seem to be kind of a Nick Chubb in that room, and that's great. I mean, if you could have 53 Nick Chubbs, you'd want 53 Nick Chubbs. I don't think anybody would ever doubt that. So another Nick Chubb type on the wide receiver room is not a bad thing at all. I think that a guy that works hard, a guy that wants to win, a guy that puts the team first, that's what you need. That's what you need a locker room full of. So for the Browns to get a guy like that in Amari Cooper, that's again a great thing and a sign of great things to come.
And along those lines, so Cooper was asked about coming to a team like the Browns that runs the ball so much and could mean decreased targets. Here's Cooper's answer to that.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of college. Alabama. I like to relate the teams I played for. I was at Alabama. We had a great running game. We were known for running the ball. I think any team that has assets, they're gonna use them. Number one. Number two, just the run game. It opens up the pass game. So not something I'm really worried about whether I get a lot or not. Just because we have such an explosive running game, I know that when I do get targeted, it's going to be wide open. So it's a win-win.
And again, Kevin Stefanski has to be smiling ear to ear, hearing that kind of attitude from a guy that is paid to catch the football.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to the great mindset and the great attitude. But I think more importantly, I think that the NFL is a pass-first league, and I think Kevin Stefanski is going to echo that still. He's got an elite quarterback now, and you got an elite running back, and I think that they're going to have to throw the football. I mean, that's what the NFL is a throwing league. So yes, you can go back to your bread and butter when you need it, but I think Amari Cooper is going to have plenty of targets. I think a lot of these guys are going to have plenty of targets. They're going to throw the football. I would not be worried about that. I don't know if it's going to be close to 50-50. I think it's probably going to be close to 60-40 in terms of passing and running the football. So I think by getting a quarterback like Deshaun, they're telling you that, man, yes, running the ball is important, but this is a passing league. We got to be able to pass the football better than we did a year ago.
Especially downfield. It's got to be more explosive than it was. It can't be the dink and dunk stuff. All right, let's turn our attention quickly to the draft before we go to break. So the Browns have 44. Do you think they look at defensive tackle? Do you think they look wide receiver? Do they look at an edge rusher? Just your gut feeling, your thought at what they do with that, with their first pick, 44th overall.
I'd say best player available. I mean, that's what Andrew Berry's shown. They had Denzel Ward, they had Greedy Williams. He went back and grabbed another corner. If there's a defensive end that's available, they're going to grab him. If there's a defensive lineman they love, they're going to grab him. If there's a tight end that they love, they're going to grab him. I don't think they'll go quarterback. I don't think they'll go running back, but you never know in that regard either. But I wouldn't be shocked. Literally any position of the defensive side of the ball would not be shocked. And maybe the only thing I'd be shocked about is if they drafted a quarterback at 44. So, I think that they are best player available, and they're going to do whatever it takes.
Would you be surprised if they trade up or trade back?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I think they could trade up if they have a player they really love, especially a wide receiver, talented guy. This seems to be a very, very good wide receiver class and wide receiver draft. So if there's a guy in the 20s that's available and they have some assets they can use, which they don't have many, given their first-round picks are kind of gone because of Deshaun Watson. But if they feel like they can get up there, and they'll do their best to do so.
Hayden Grove and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit about Jacoby Brissett, a little bit about Baker Mayfield. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. The question some folks want to know, where do you think Baker Mayfield will end up? Jeff Darlington from ESPN's Get Up had a few ideas here.
Greeny, I get why we think that's the spot, and I understand that $19 million is not that much for a quarterback, but it is a lot when you've already invested in Sam Darnold $18 million. So I don't know that it's as clear. I think there are other teams that could take Baker Mayfield on easier than the Carolina Panthers could right now. So I'm not so convinced that that's ultimately where he ends up.
So what are the other teams?
I mean, Seattle, namely, is still, to me, makes the most sense. But look, if for some reason the Browns, and I don't expect this to happen, were to cut Baker Mayfield, I think he signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers the very next day. Again, teams do still covet Baker Mayfield. They just don't think that they need to give up as much as the Cleveland Browns are asking right now. This will trigger at some point, and teams will be interested. That day is just not today.
And Hayden Grove, I think that gets to why the Browns are kind of waiting. They realize Baker Mayfield is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he is a starting quarterback. You have to surround him with some stuff to win, but they're waiting to see if they can get an asset, maybe not have to eat any of the salary, and it's a waiting game. There's a right time for everything, and clearly Andrew Berry knows the market pretty well, and it's just not the right time at this point in time.
Yeah, and I think the thing that the Browns fans are missing here, and people around the NFL are missing, is that the Browns have zero leverage. They have no leverage whatsoever. I mean, there's not one organization around the NFL that believes for a second that Baker Mayfield will ever take another snap for Cleveland Browns. There's not one organization that around the league that believes that he's going to sit there and sit on the sidelines for 18 games. It's just not going to happen. The Browns have no leverage in this. So the fact that they want more in a trade might be too bad. I mean, Andrew Berry is just going to have to take what he gets, or he's going to have to release Baker Mayfield. Because if I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I'm saying I don't necessarily need a quarterback. I have Drew Lock. I don't need to go pay you a first round pick for Baker Mayfield. I will wait till you release him, because you're going to have to release him. If you can't find a trade partner, you're going to have to release him. So the Browns have zero leverage with this Baker Mayfield situation. I think they've bungled it in a couple different ways, and ultimately it doesn't matter because they got their quarterback in Deshaun Watson. But again, I just think it's best to just cut bait and move on. Move on. It's going to be best for him. It's going to be best for the organization. I don't know what they're waiting for outside of, hoping and praying that they will get a pick or something that they really like for a guy in Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I don't think they're asking for a first-round pick, and I think leverage is something that often changes. So I think Andrew Berry is going to be patient, and we'll see. But again, I would not release Baker Mayfield because, again, you don't release starting quarterbacks. So if somebody's waiting for that, I think they're going to have a long wait. Here's another idea. We're going to go back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, and you would be astonished by the number of voicemails that we get about Baker Mayfield. Here is another voicemail about Baker Mayfield.
Yes, I'm wondering why Arizona wouldn't be a good place for Baker to be traded to. Obviously, they have a problem at quarterback right now. Very little leverage against that guy. Maybe the Browns should call the Cardinals. What do you think?
I think it's interesting. I think Cliff Kingsbury, the difference in the athleticism between Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield is pretty stark. And Kyler Murray is left to take a lot of hits. I don't think you want to do that with Baker Mayfield. Now, a wide open offense, he can run.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's built for, is a wide open offense. But I think you're right in that, I think Baker Mayfield good suited there for football reasons, but also, I mean, you have Kyler Murray. What are you going to do? I think that Kyler Murray, you're going to probably have to find a situation in which that works for Kyler Murray, because I think he's a very, very talented player. I just don't think Arizona's the spot. But again, if there's a team that wants him to be the backup and Arizona wants him to be a backup, then by all means, go ahead and ask. But I think Baker's a starter in the NFL. I think there are teams that should start him this year, and I just think that Arizona has their starter.
Yeah, and the thing is Murray's making noise that he may hold out if he doesn't get his contract extension. So we'll see how that plays out. The backup quarterback that Kevin Stefanski went out and got, Jacoby Brissett. Stefanski talked about what he saw in Brissett that was intriguing.
Jacoby's a young football player who's played a good amount of games, understands how to win, has really been in some different systems that have allowed him to grow in his football intelligence. Really quality person. I think you guys are going to get the chance to talk to Jacoby in a little bit. Quality person, very, very intelligent. Just felt like his skill set was something that would match up real well with our offense. I think it's valuable. I think you have a young player that's played a good amount of football in his career. He's won games. He understands how to play the position. He understands how to take care of the ball, how to lead. He understands how to win without getting any reps in a given week. So he's done a nice job. He's been a starter and a backup. I just think there's value with that position, understanding his role and understanding that his role can change in a moment's notice.
And I don't know how you felt about it. I liked the signing of Brissett. It matched with what they want to do offensively.
Yeah, I love Jacoby Brissett. I'm a huge fan. I think off the field, he's a tremendous human being. He's a tremendous leader. I love the way he plays the game. I think he is a leader just by who he is and what he is. I think he's the perfect fit to kind of back up Deshaun Watson, and because Kevin Stefanski said he can come in and play. I mean, I think with Case Keenum, there was a little bit of a unwritten, unsaid thing that maybe, Case was there to back Baker up and to help him, but he wasn't there to play. And I think Jacoby can come in and play and be legitimate and help the Browns. If there's a suspension situation, if Deshaun gets hurt, I think he can come in and really steer the boat, not just kind of, hold above water. I think he can navigate the waters. So I love Jacoby Brissett for a lot of reasons. I think he's a tremendous guy, and I can't wait to see him in brown and orange.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so Brissett did meet with the media, talked about what appealed to him with this situation with the Browns, as well as that quarterback room.
You know, obviously the opportunity, but you know, speaking with with Kev and the guys on the staff, it presented a good, you know, like I said, opportunity. Really, what it was. I think we do a lot of the same things. You know, obviously he's way faster than me. I'm not afraid to say that, but you know, I think this offense suits us well in that room, and it sounds like and it looks like that. You know, obviously from watching film and stuff like that, that the coaches try to put us in the best position possible and play to the strengths of who's ever playing.
And Hayden, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. They have similar skill sets to, you know, threaten a defense with.
Yeah, they all have, you know, size. They have an ability, pocket maneuverability that, you know, allows them to extend plays. They aren't necessarily, you know, the world's strongest, you know, longest and hardest throwers, but they're accurate and they can get the football down the field. So yeah, I think they're all very similar in that way. And I think it's good. I think it's good to have similar guys so you don't have to, you know, make your scheme totally different. But I love what Jacoby brings. I love the fact that he came in for this opportunity. And, you know, however much or however little he may play, they have a guy who's ready to go and to give them his best. So, again, excited to see him get on the field.
Hayden Grove, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Hayden.
Thank you, Dave. Have a great day, man.
All right, Hayden Grove. Make sure you read them, pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out, continue talking Browns. Ashley Bastock from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us. We'll hear from Amari Cooper about working with Deshaun Watson. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Amari Cooper, Browns' new #1 wide receiver, talked about finding out that the Browns had acquired quarterback Deshaun Watson and his reaction.
I mean, I was happy. I was elated. You know, my friends called me right away. I was actually in another country. I was in Dubai. I was extremely happy. The thing is, there's a huge time difference. Like, I think when it happened here, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know the time because I wasn't here, but maybe it was like 2 o'clock or something, and it was like 12 there, so I was kind of asleep. And I woke up, just saw a whole bunch of text messages and stuff like that. Guys were like, "Man, you lucky." Some of my former teammates, and I was like, "What?" And then I checked social media, the news, and then I found out the information. So it was cool. I was happy about it.
Let's welcome in Ashley Bastock, reporter for the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Ashley, former teammate saying that tells you how well Deshaun Watson is thought of in NFL circles.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like what kind of wide receiver, many wide receivers don't get a chance to play with a quarterback of this caliber. And I know later on in this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the quarterback room and revamped and how it might make the offense look. But you put a quarterback with an arm like Deshaun Watson, who can keep plays alive with his feet like Deshaun Watson can, with an Amari Cooper type receiver who is a Pro Bowler, who is maybe the best route runner in the NFL. That is such a winning tandem. And especially if you're talking about making your offense more explosive, more downfield. I mean, when we talk about wide receivers in general in the NFL, as reporters, we're always like, they're, maybe kind of a more mercurial position group, right? Like they're guys who are big personalities, they want touches. And I think from everything we know about Amari Cooper, he is almost like a Nick Chubb type personality, maybe a little bit quieter, wants to get in, do the work, contribute as best as he can. So it's definitely an intriguing pairing for multiple reasons, I think.
Yeah, and the run game will open that up as well. Kevin Stefanski talked about how different this offense will look with Deshaun Watson.
I think we definitely have to adapt to our players, and certainly the quarterback is so important in what we do. So we will make sure that we do what Deshaun does best, what the quarterback room does best. So those are the type of things that we're working through as we study. As we've studied Deshaun and Jacoby and Josh and understand what those guys do best and make sure that we can do that come September. To get there, though, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of install, there's a lot of practice that has to occur to ultimately tell you how much we will change. I think, Mary Kay, with the quarterback, you do want this to be a collaboration, and it's really all quarterbacks are different, and you want to make sure you meet them where they are. Deshaun's very open-minded to trying different things that he hasn't done. Similarly, we're very open-minded to putting in schemes that he has a lot of success in that we haven't done, for instance. So it's an ongoing conversation, but just I would tell you day in and day out with him, just spending time with him yesterday and today, he wants to certainly grow as a player, and he wants to try different concepts. And I think that's the beauty of the spring.
And Ashley, having listened to that, how different do you think this offense will look with Deshaun Watson?
I think totally different, especially compared to what we saw last year. I don't know if there's a percentage on it of how different it's going to look, but I would just say it's going to look extremely different. Again, when we talked about the Browns last season, so many of the issues came from, I think Baker Mayfield's capabilities right now, depending on what was hindering those capabilities, whether it was the shoulder injury, whether it was opposing teams taking away those boots and rollouts that he was so successful at. There was just not a consistent downfield passing attack for most of the year. And I think now going forward, you have that. And, it's interesting to hear Kevin Stefanski talk about how it is going to be a collaborative effort. And I think for a lot of quarterbacks in the league, that's true, but especially when you have Deshaun Watson, who on the field is basically a top 5 guy in the league, no question, right? Like he's always going to be in that conversation in these next few years, I think. So it was interesting to hear that. And of course, we didn't really get much insight into just how different this offense is going to look. They're not going to give away everything in April when we are still months and months away from fully understanding what it could look like. But I definitely think a lot of it just goes back to Deshaun Watson's arm, number one, and his ability to keep plays alive with his feet. And you actually look at that quarterback room in general with Jacoby Brissett and Josh Dobbs, and there's a similar skill set there, right? Jacoby Brissett, very similar skill set, just a little bit bigger. I think he has about 2 inches on Deshaun Watson height-wise. So overall, I just think they built this room kind of around Deshaun's strengths, and then obviously, as they await news on a suspension, which we did not get any news on that today when we spoke to Kevin Stefanski and players. We don't know what that possible suspension from the NFL for Deshaun Watson might be, but it makes things easier to translate if you do need Jacoby Brissett to jump in there and start a handful of games for you. So I think it's really interesting over the last few weeks to look at how this room has been built around their strengths. It just all seems to me like the biggest goal was to change how this passing game looks like, and I think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And when you think about similar skill sets, that means you block the same up front. Nothing has to change, and that's critical if you're going to have to interchange quarterbacks for a couple of games. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about another area the Browns trying to upgrade the defensive line.
Olivier Vernon, is he still hurt? And if he is his timetable for him to be ready to play for this year? And is he an actual option for us at that defensive end spot? Or is he still even on the roster? Or what's the situation with Olivier Vernon? Thank you once again. Go Browns.
Okay, and Ashley, he was injured with the Achilles late 2 years ago, didn't play anywhere last year. He is expected to be back for the start of the year.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting name to see if the Browns would go out and get him. Now, obviously, his roster spot last year was taken by Jadeveon Clowney, right? So for me, when I'm thinking about defensive end depth on the Browns, I think Jadeveon Clowney would still be my number one ask. Like, we saw how he elevated his own play. We saw how he played alongside Myles Garrett. All of that was really positive, and I think he has more in the tank. He knows Joe Wood's system already. He knows this defense. He knows this team. He knows the other guys. I just think overall it would be less adapting for everyone. But Olivier Vernon, that's an interesting thought experiment, I think. And, at this point, I think you have to almost pursue everything to get more depth on that defensive line and ask those questions. Today we did just get the news that they are bringing in Isaac Rochelle, who was with the Colts last year. He was with the Chargers the first 4 years of his career. He was a former 7th-round pick, but he's been a contributor throughout his career. So that might need that will lead to some depth, I think. But it's also important to remember that the Browns, potentially Jadeveon Clowney might not come back, number one, right? And then you have Takk McKinley, who's out with that Achilles injury, and there's no guarantee when he will be back. So I really just think overall you need to continue to add as much depth to that D-line as possible. There was one guy in the draft who I'm really excited about who could be a possibility, I think, for them in the 3rd round if they want to go that route, and that is Josh Paschall out of Kentucky. I think he's an interesting prospect as well. There are a lot of interesting routes I think they could go, but depth still needs to be a big goal on the line and on the interior of the line as well.
Yeah, a lot of work to do. That's really the only area where you say, boy, they need a lot, in some depth in the wide receiver room as well. Ashley, Bastock, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little Browns. We'll also talk a little Cavs. We'll hear from Kobe Altman. Straight ahead on Sports for CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Welcome back to Sports for CLE. We continue talking Browns. We're going to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, and our friend Mr. Sooner Mayfield has another voicemail for me.
I don't think Dave has to ask who this is because by now he and I kibitzing back and forth. By the way, Dave Bacon, that's a pretty cool name. We kibitz back and forth, and I just got to thinking about something. What did Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield show to future quarterbacks? Joe Burrow's knee last year was banged up, and he sat out the rest of the season, came back strong, went into the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield played through extreme pain and injuries. And I'm not talking about just pain during the game. I'm talking about after the game and in between. I mean, when you have something torn and something broken in a movable part of your body, I can tell you from 3 back surgeries, it doesn't go away. So I'm thinking maybe the new quarterbacks or even the ones that's been there now will say, I'm hurt, and I'm hurt so bad, I'm gonna do a Joe Burrow. I'm going to set it out, and I'm going to wait until I get healed. If I get hurt and I'm hurt bad enough, I'm not going to mess up my future. So I'll sit down. Thank you very much. Bye.
And Ashley, I think there's some truth to that. Now, it's important to note, Joe Burrow tore his ACL and really couldn't play. But I wonder in retrospect if Baker Mayfield wishes he hadn't continued.
Let's get that part of it out of the way first, though, because I was thinking that, as we're listening to that, obviously a torn ACL is totally different for a quarterback compared to a torn labrum in your non-throwing shoulder, right? Like, one of those players had a choice potentially, or had some input into the choice whether or not he was going to play, versus the other player who his season was ended because he needed to have that surgery and it would have been physically impossible for him to play, right? But I've kind of I think I've said it on this very show, been a proponent of, I think the narrative around Baker Mayfield would have been totally different had he gone and had that surgery on his torn labrum and then come back next year. Obviously, I think so many of the conversations remain about the same. You let Case Keenum start, they maybe win the same number of games, or if they win fewer games, it becomes, well, we didn't have our starting quarterback, so what do you expect us to do, right? It's like a built-in, you hate to use the word excuse, but that's what it becomes. You don't have all your personnel. So I do think there definitely is some truth to the fact that the narrative around Baker Mayfield and his career would have been totally different right now. And, ultimately we'll see what he looks like now when he comes back and he's recovered from that shoulder. But I do think it's important to note that when Baker Mayfield had that injury, when it got particularly bad, when that bone started to fracture, that's when he sat in that Thursday night game. So the Browns and their players, they are going to still make the decision based on, health of the player and whether or not a guy feels like he can go. But when they can't, they're going to sit. And Baker Mayfield did do that as well this year. And I think it's important to point that out as well. But it is also, it's a big what if question that is sort of unanswerable at this point. And whether Baker Mayfield would still be with the Browns, who knows? The narrative, though, I think would definitely 100% have been different around this season, and kind of especially the disappointed narrative that we heard over and over again towards the end.
Yeah, I would agree. And the one thing I would say is quarterback is a different position. A lot of other positions, you go out there and, you try to play through it. Don't do that with quarterback. You touch the ball every time, and you have 11 guys trying to find a way to bury you in the turf. So that's a little different. All right, let's change. Go ahead.
I was just going to say quarterback is totally different. When you think about especially offensive linemen, for example, right? That's one of those positions you're talking about. Often you talk to offensive linemen, they're basically all hurt, have some kind of nagging injury from probably week 3 onward. And it's so hard you can't really compare the quarterback to any other position in the game. It's hard to compare any NFL position to another position in the game, right? They're all just so different responsibilities, but the linemen, for example, are guys in the trenches who are always battling through something. And that is a different mentality than what you have to have when you are a franchise quarterback, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn our attention to the Cavs real quick. Kobe Altman yesterday talked to the media, end of the season wrap up. He talked a little bit just about his view of what the Cavs did this past season.
Trying to weigh the balance of, man, how do we not get there to that playoffs, to taking a step back to your point and say, this was a remarkable year for so many reasons. I think the thing I come back to a lot is just talking to our fans and then rival executives or coaches on the road that watch us play. And they say, man, you guys are so much fun to watch. And that's genuine. I think the thing that I'm most proud of is how this team captivated a city, put the league on notice.
Ashley, when you look at the Cavs, just a reaction to the season that they finished up.
Yeah, I think Kobe Altman summed it up pretty well there, right? They started off the year as kind of the surprise, as the feel-good story for a lot of reasons. The way Darius Garland played, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Kevin Love's resurgence, the way JB Bickerstaff was coaching. And then things kind of fell apart down the end. And I think a lot of it had to do with injuries. I think that's unfortunate. That's what leaves them with such this disappointed feeling as they go home without making the playoffs. But I just think overall, like next year, they're not going to be the surprise anymore. They know that, and they are extremely motivated, I think, to keep working past that and just to, keep moving forward and taking those next steps as a group, which, as we know, is very important in the NBA. It's a long season. It's an 82-game season. Teams are going to adapt to you. Now for them as a group, it's all about taking those next steps forward.
And they're so young, and so it'll be fun to watch. They were fun, and they will be fun to watch.
Yeah, it became a joke on Twitter, right? Like every night on, it was the Cavs were insert adverb here, fun. So very fun. Whatever adverb you want to use in front of the word fun to describe them, it would work.
Ashley Bastock, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Ashley.
Thank you.
All right, Ashley Bastock. Make sure you read her pages of the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports4CLE. See you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guests, Quincy Carrier, Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. That is tomorrow at 4 o'clock on Sports4CLE. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody.